As the parent of a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter, I've definitely had my fair share of battles over screen time and social media. I feel like we're fighting a losing battle with our kids and their devices at the dinner table every night, even though they know family dinners are supposed to be a sacred tech-free zone. But in all seriousness, raising kids in this age of ubiquitous tech, video games, social media is not an easy feat. I know I talk a lot about the impact of video games and social and Roblox and TikTok with respect to kids, but that's because I've seen firsthand the positive and the negative effects that they can have. And I feel like an obligation to share these experiences with you. The mistakes I made, the good, the bad, the ugly. And it seems like every week there's a new study, a new article raising concerns about the impacts of all this digital stimulation on young minds and social development. Yes, Jonathan Haidt's new book, The Anxious Generation, has been making the rounds in my network over the last few weeks. But there were also 3 things that I read in the last week or so that really just kind of hit me hard as a parent. I'm going to link to them in the comments below for your reference and perusal, but just stay with me for a second. So the first was a CNN article about the first generation of social media babies that are now becoming adults. They're growing up, and they're actually advocating for laws to protect kids from oversharing parents. Can you imagine having your entire childhood monetized and plastered across the internet without your consent as a baby? And I'm also guilty of it. I set up social media feeds for my little ones before they were even born. And I may have thought that I was being helpful and sharing things with family and friends, but I've since made them private or deleted most of that content. Now, 13 years later, my kids still don't have their own social media accounts. And as that article highlighted, a growing number of these young people are actually pleading with elected officials saying, I need you to be the voice for the next generation of kids because they know firsthand what it's like to not have a choice, which, if a digital footprint is created and it follows them around for the rest of their lives. It's fascinating, but it really makes you think twice before hitting that share button without kid consent of kid content. The second piece that caught my eye was this in-depth report from New York Magazine titled The Last Kid in Ninth Grade Without an iPhone. And as the headline suggests, it follows the impacts, both positive and negative, of a phoneless childhood in today's age. There's a 15-year-old kid who was like, now that I have a phone and have Snapchat, I don't even know how I held on to some of my close friendships before. They sort of can't believe that they didn't have that for so long. And my son got his phone at age 11. I have a few minor regrets, holding them back from, but we have no social media for them, and they can't engage with their friends there. Yes, they can text, but the better angels of my conscience, as well as the voice of my pediatrician wife, drowned out any doubts I may have had not letting them, onto these platforms. It's just wild to think that not having a smartphone in your teens growing up is such an anomaly. Part of me envies the kids like the ones mentioned in that article who got a few extra years of a screen-free childhood. But then the third article that I read offered an intriguing counterpoint from, it's from researchers from the University of Wisconsin, go Badgers, suggesting that moderate smartphone use can actually boost teens' moods when it's used as a coping mechanism. As one of the researchers says, phones are not good or bad. If a teen is also developing other healthy mood management techniques and being physically active and maintaining balance, then it's fine. So what's a parent to make of all this conflicting info and hand-wringing over tech use? I don't have all the answers, but I know that balance and that open communication is the key, right? Have there been times when my kids have probably been dishonest with me about what they are visiting or what they've done or what they've seen or things that they've said? Yeah, probably. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm fighting a losing battle with tech, video games, social media. These things aren't going away anytime soon. So we as parents, we got to roll with the punches. We got to set some reasonable guardrails and have honest conversations with our kids about finding that healthy middle ground. You can't do it at the expense of homework or in real life social interactions, but this is all just part of the beautifully messy adventure of raising humans in a rapidly evolving world, and I wouldn't have it any other way.